Shields up, Ironbreakers, and welcome to another episode of Kast. Today we have special guests, Jonno and Joe from Capcom, the community managers for both the European side as well as the US side. Guys, it is once again a pleasure to have you here with me, and we're going to be talking a whole lot about Monster Hunter Wilds. Have you guys fully recovered from...
Wait.
Huh?
We're not here to talk about something. No, just Wilds. You guys
I
fully...
guess we could let that slide, yeah.
Yeah. You guys fully recovered from your respective conventions and stuff like that?
Mostly.
Oh, man,
I caught
watching-
Conflu. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
Conflu from Gamescom. That kind of wiped me out the next week. How about you, Joe?
I'm hanging in there. I did not get sick, which I was a little concerned about. You know, seeing people drop like flies on Twitter after PAX, but doing okay. Yeah, hanging in there.
It's good to hear. So I figured we'd start with like a super easy topic that's not going to be a problem at all. You guys could just go ahead and tell us the release date of the game, and then that'll be all good. And you know,
Well, we can give you a broad one. 2025.
Oh, I wasn't aware it was coming out next year. Oh man, it's actually really close. I didn't expect that.
World exclusive.
Yeah, world exclusive. Months in a Wilds comes out in 2025. That's actually only a couple of months away, though. Actually, talking about stuff like we're 3 months away from 2025. Like it almost kind of snuck up on us. I almost felt like, weren't we like over 6 months away from the game? Like not even that long ago. It kind of just like snuck up, I feel like.
Yeah, we're 3 months away from the next 12 months. So you know, quite a nice big pond to kind of.
Now
be
listen,
in.
we have to negotiate. You guys can't release it in summer again, okay? Summer is rough. This was a very busy summer. My kids were out of school, and I was like at Gamescom. It was wild. We can't have that again. But yeah, obviously we're not going to get a release date. I was just joking around. That's you know. But we are going to be getting big news drops soon-ish. I think it's in like 2 weeks. So we're going to get Tokyo Game Show. Obviously, there's not a whole lot that you guys are going to be able to tell us about that at this point. But kind of like look forward to it. Anything that you guys would want to announce in regards to Tokyo Game Show about what you're showing over there and stuff?
Yeah, you want to kick that off, John?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, we've got a presence there. I think this will be the first time that obviously, you know, the Japanese community, you know, arguably the heart of Monster Hunter, the OG hunters, you know, will be playing Wilds for the first time, which is incredibly exciting. So super excited to see what the Japanese gaming community make of Wilds with their first hands on.
That'll be interesting, right? Because they haven't gotten to play it yet. We only gotten people to play it on the US and on EU.
Mhm.
Yeah. You were going to say something, Joe? Your camera's kind of like a little bit laggy, so it's kind of hard to tell when you're speaking.
Yeah. That's actually been distracting me a little bit, so I'm gonna let's see if I can toggle that back.
Oh no! You wrecked everything. Now there's two of me on screen.
Oh no, we can't have that.
It's fine.
Yeah, I can't get it to work like without lag.
Well, you tried turning it off and on, and that's my advice. So you know,
Yeah,
I'm stumped.
it is
there.
what it is. We'll struggle with it. It'll be fine. Just go right ahead, Joe. I'll try to catch up on
Yeah.
hints of when you want to speak.
You can add a PNG of me or something.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, but you know, TGS is you know, as Capcom is a Japanese company, of course, like TGS is like a home turf kind of like event, right? So you know they always do it big. Always like tons of playable stations there, and TGS is like, I would say, like of the events that I've been to, is just like an absolute sea of humanity. There's just so many people at the event, so many stations. Like it is like they do events in like the old school style. So it is going to be like such a huge playable moment for the game. So hopefully all the fans in Japan, obviously Monster Hunter being so huge there, it's going to be really cool.
Like if you're saying like huge number of stations, I'm already kind of impressed considering that there were like 60 stations at Gamescom, which was one of the things that people were saying. Why were the lines so big? Why didn't they just bring more stations? And I was like, these are PlayStation 5 dev kits. They brought 60 of them. Like, I don't know what you want. There's going to be a limit as to how many PlayStation 5 dev kits they're going to be able to bring out to the show floor.
Yeah, I mean, kudos as well to the Capcom Germany team who set up and organized all of that. And yeah, even then, and credit to the community, I think the queue got up to 8 hours at one point, and then it was cut down
10.
to 6 hours max. 10. Like
10.
honestly, like I was blown away by the dedication from the community. Honestly, like I've done that kind of queuing before my industry days at a Gamescom many years ago, and just mad respect to them for that. And also like the booth staff we had, I want to say like the booth staff we had who obviously weren't Capcom did an incredible job as well. They were so passionate, and I think that did a great job at like getting people through, because I think was it about half an hour playtime, right? So there was quite a long queue, but that's because everyone got a good half-hour session in the game. But yeah, what an experience. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wait times got up to like 10 hours or something, right? Gamescom?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Gamescom. How is it like at PAX, Joe? Tell us all about it, because we weren't there.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. The demand was, just out of this world. I think like we had to cap the line at 4 hours each time, just because it's like a fire hazard to like have that many people standing in the alleyways and like in the walking areas. I think like I caught one guy who like he just was like outside of the line getting capped, and I think he like kind of like dropped to his knees and was like no, like in tears, and I'm like, man, it makes me really sad that that happened. But yeah, it was crazy to see the demand, and obviously like everyone was just so hyped to play, so the energy was really great.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. I do have to lodge a formal complaint that most of us that went to Gamescom, we felt slighted, I would say, due to the fact that for some strange reason, the Sacred that was at PAX was rideable, but the Sacred that was at Gamescom wasn't. How's this fair? This is just not fair. I don't understand.
Europe got the first playable hands-on, but the US got the first rideable secret. Got to balance it
Yeah,
out.
there you go. There you go.
There better not be a rideable Sacred in Tokyo Game Show then. Like,
The funny thing is, we had to have people sign waivers to get on there, because it is like a little scary when you get up there. It's kind of high up, and then it's you gotta like put your leg over it and everything, and then put your foot in like the little like what's it called? I don't even know what you call it. But yeah, the stirrup. Yeah, yeah. And then once you get off, it's like a little precarious too. So we had to like have every legal precaution to make sure people are cool with that. And I think there was like somebody that wanted to put their dog on there. We're like, do you need the dog to go with you, or are you just gonna put the dog up there?
it's the
And we catch her-
Palamute.
She just put her dog up there. And we're like, I'm sorry, I don't think you can do that. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
That was funny. It was fantastic to hang out with the community as well. Like everybody was hanging out, talking about the game. Lots of people super excited about actually playing the game. Most people would end up queuing for the single player because that would go a little bit faster, but everybody really wanted to get in on the multiplayer. Like it was absolutely insane. Just the massive lines and all of that stuff, and just the overall support from the community. It felt like a good time all around, and I didn't really remember seeing any major complications while we were out there.
Yeah, say everyone was working their butts off. The Capcom Germany team had a great setup and a great supporting team with us. And what I really liked as well is we had all that free peach tea for people that made it to like the last 3 hours or 2 hours of the queue. So people getting drinks and stuff when they were getting close to playing the game, keeping hydrated. And yeah, it was just a nice atmosphere all around. And yeah. Credit to the team, credit to the community. It was a fantastic experience. And I know the team from HQ in Japan loved it as well. They love seeing everyone's passion and seeing people playing the game. So yeah, that was cool.
Meeting the team was probably one of the biggest highlights of my trip, because I actually got to meet them. And when Tokuda-san said that he knew who I was like, oh my God, this is like super fanboy moment. I was like, oh my God, that's absolutely insane. And the interview and all of that. And it was really nice to just see the passion that the team has. Because again, I feel like nowadays there's not that many teams that would be able to just, let me just go on stage and play a live version of my game, like this
That's
super
hard to
early
do,
version.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I played so rough on stage compared to when we were streaming with the Arax guys. I was like, oh, I can relax a bit and focus more on the gameplay now. That is hard to do. It looks easy, but it's not.
Yeah,
You know, what's
that's what.
funny?
Go ahead, Joe.
What's funny is not being at the show. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to Gamescom, but seeing all these streams drop every morning, I feel like the team was just kind of like they started playing, and then all of a sudden they started showing things that I didn't know they were going to show. And I'm like, wait, we're doing that? Like, I didn't know it was being revealed right now. Okay, that was a cool feeling.
Yeah,
was
that
great.
that was constant new stuff getting revealed throughout those streams, and it was really cool. Even though there were some technical hiccups here and there, which is part of just doing it live. But like I said, I just feel like it's a good sign when the team feels confident. It's like, no, we're gonna put this out there, and we're gonna actually play live and show everybody how the game plays live, and especially with the language barrier, with the interpreter and all of that stuff going on. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to manage the interpretation situation. Because even with my interview, it's like I got 30 minutes to talk with the devs, and that interview is 12 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick did an incredible job,
Yeah.
and seeing the reaction to Patrick as well was wonderful. He was going through the comments and seeing it and everything, and yeah, because not only is he interpreting what's being said by the developers, he's got me in the middle who he needs to explain the right things to. And obviously, Patrick is a huge Monster Hunter fan, so he's got that in-depth knowledge that
And a
people are
Gunlance
picking
player.
up on. And he's a Gunlance main as well. So yeah, like, you know, yeah, Patrick was awesome. It's always fun working with him because he's involved as part of the business services team with the community team, and when we work with the dev team, when we talk about like community things and stuff like that. So yeah, he's really a part of, much like the rest of the team, that kind of process. So it's great to see him out on stage with us.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time. Did you guys do stage presentations in PAX at all besides the one that we got to see during that event where everybody was there?
No, unfortunately, we didn't. We basically just had the demos and then the panel that was also set up. Mostly just due to like kind of the like stage setup. Like we don't have the ability to like do that in terms of like the limited space. So you know, it was nice to have like all of that set up at Gamescom, and we have TwitchCon coming up where a lot of people are going to be able to stream the game as well. So some good opportunities ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, because like doing the stream on the spot was another really fantastic thing, and the team that was working the back end for that also did a phenomenal job, at least from my personal experience. Like on that last day that 2-6 in Paradise invited me to go onto their stream, and suddenly that we were like, oh, there's probably not going to be a mic for me because there's only 3 mics on the booth, and then we get there and there's like magically a 4th mic and a little stool for me to sit down. Oh, I didn't even have to sit on the ground. This is great. I thought I was gonna have to sit like on the ground.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
shout out.
Like, yeah, we like, because yeah, behind the scenes there was what got to be at least 24 people of
Oh,
different
yeah.
disciplines and expertise, not only running, producing everything, making sure we're where we need to be, we're mic'd up, we're comfortable. Like, yeah, there was like a small army behind there keeping everything running.
Yeah, it was a
and the end
fantastic
result
job.
was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you guys, and we're gonna start with Joe. What is a weapon that looks interesting to you right now outside of your main weapon? Because I know that you are a great sword main, if I remember correctly, right, Joe?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So
I
what
was
is
nodding, but you
one?
can't see it on my camera.
Fortunately,
I'll have to fix that at some point in the middle of this.
I mean, you can like turn it off and on if you want. Like I've already showed up twice. It's not the end of the world if you want to tweak it around. But like, just tell us then, what was a weapon that interests you outside of your main weapon? Like one that you're like, this one actually looks really cool now with the changes that it's got in Wilds.
Ooh, I think you're gonna like this one.
Oh,
Can you guess?
Dual blades.
Does it start with a G?
Yes, it does.
Does it have a gun on it?
I think it does. I think it does. Yeah, I mean, I dabbled with the gun lance in Rise a little bit. I love that bullet barrage attack.
Yeah.
But now we've got like that like drill, like focus mode, focus strike, which I'm really interested in. It looks super cool, really flashy, but it's also like, you know, still a little grounded. So And now you can like sidestep, right? I
You
think
can
that's
do
like
shelling side steps,
yes,
which
yes.
also go into the big combo that I wasn't able to figure out while I was experimenting with it. But then watching the videos and talking with Cowslayer and whatnot, I was able to, oh, okay, this is how it works. So you can do like shelling sidestep into wide sweep into worm stake. What's it called? Worm stake full blast and then multi worm stake full blast. It is insane, that combo. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to mess around more with it. I think that's the main one I'm looking at right now. Yeah, I don't know. Charge Blade looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they've like kind of incorporated the Savage Axe for the charge strikes now, or for the focus mode, is a little bit interesting, a little bit different. Um, but it's always been like a pretty complex weapon for me, and I feel like I don't quite have mastery of it. So maybe this is the game to do. You can carry two weapons now, so
No, no, no.
I
You
gotta
need you
learn.
need to play the gun lance. It's the great sword and the gun lance, the 2G weapons. That's what you need.
All right,
They,
just
they
for
will
you,
they
I'll
will
do it just
carry
for
you
you.
into G rank because they both start with G. It'll be perfect. How about
What are
you,
you talking
Jonno?
about? What's a G rank?
Exactly.
So for me, like, I mean, I'm really interested in the hunting horn. I think the hunting horn has loads of really interesting, like new mechanics, and as a weapon, I really enjoyed it in some breaks. So I'm very tempted by the hunting horn. However, over at Gamescom, I did spend a lot of time with the light bow gun, and I really, really, really enjoy it. And I think I love the play style. It's very rapid, it's very fluid, a lot of mobility there, and I think it complements the sword and shield very, very well. Um, and actually, back in my 4U days, I ran the sword and shield and light bowgun like kind of side by side throughout. Low rank, high rank. Completed the story, took down Shigaru with the light bowgun in the end instead of sword and shield. So it's probably going to be that bit of sword and shield, bit of light bowgun.
I'm also interested in the heavy bowgun, curiously enough, as like my secondary weapon. I'm still not sure if that
More
is.
booms, huh?
Yeah, it's just like ever since I've heard that there's going to be infinite ammo, like not all of the ammo, but some of the ammo is going to be infinite. I was like, dude, this, because the biggest thing about me and bowguns is actually the ammo management. I'm too lazy to do ammo management. Yeah, it's just the way that it goes. It's like if it involves too much, oh, I need to pick up this thing and then join it with this thing and then pick up that thing. I'm like, no, I'm lazy. I'm lazy, and I enjoy the preparation aspects, but I'm very whenever you try to limit the amount of times I can attack with the ammo types, I'm just like, I don't know about that. But yeah, do you know more about this infinite ammo stuff? Because I didn't catch all of the details about it yet.
No, I don't actually. I was kind of playing around with the bow gun, but I didn't invest too much time into the ammo economy. But I guess,
Yeah,
like talking of that, though, like the bow obviously gets its coatings coming back now.
infinite
And the
coatings.
more
Yeah.
aggressive you are, the quicker you get them back, right? So I think that's a really cool mechanic because you've still got kind of like, in certain areas, you got to do your preparation, which is kind of known for the gunner kind of style. But there's also a nice bit of quality of life in there. So that's always good.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But the bow one was definitely one of those that kind of called to my attention because of the dodging and all of that stuff
Hmm.
that they're doing and the perfect dodges and then the
The
homing
tracking
arrows
arrow.
and yeah, it was insane. And the bows just have all of their coatings for free. Like there's no more coating crafting, is my understanding. Like even poison coatings, paralysis coatings, all of that stuff.
I don't know. I say I'm terrible with bow. I've tried it. I tried it in World and Iceborne. I was absolutely rubbish with the bow. So I'd need to kind of dust it off and have a go on it and see how how it's going for me.
Yeah, but just having that secondary ranged weapon, I feel, is going to be like a big deal when it comes to wilds. But we'll see if that's the case or not. Because obviously, I'm also a big fan of the Charge Blade, and the Charge Blade is also looking pretty spicy. So that's another one that I'm thinking about. So
Good to have options.
yeah. Another thing that I wanted to ask is your own personal choices of returning monsters. I don't know if Joe's sorted out his technical difficulties there or if he's not with us, so
Yeah,
you
Joe,
should start,
give
Jonno.
us a sign.
Your personal choice for a returning monster, Jonno, if you could have any monster in the game.
I mean, for me, obviously, I love Bracky, so Brachydios would always be my first answer.
Hmm.
for that. Just 'cause it's my
Okay.
favorite. I'm biased. If ask me about any game, Bracky every time, every
Yeah.
time.
I'm also extremely biased when it comes to Basel Goose, but I this time around I would actually go for Duran Moran or Jan Moran. Give me one of the sand whales because like we see the sand skiff, we see all of that stuff, and it just
Yeah.
made me wonder like, oh, can we please get these back into the game? Because that is a fight that I miss a lot from 4 Ultimate.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a classic fight. That one.
Yeah.
Got better load them cannons kind of style from back in the day. But that is an interesting choice because you know normally when you ask people that kind of question, it's always like the traditional large monster kind of size,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not the bigger ones.
No, I just want a big sand whale. That's what I need. We're back. Joe had some technical issues, but Joe, your personal choice of a returning monster.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can have any monster in the franchise come back, and you get to pick one. To give you an idea, Jonno went with his basic favorite monster, Brachydios.
What do
That's
you
a fair
mean
choice.
basic?
Because everybody knows it's your favorite, so I just feel like it's a basic choice. Although I will say, I know that Josh would approve it, so you know it is what
Yeah,
it is.
that's true.
Josh is right there screaming in the comment section right now, Brachydios! It's like going crazy. And I, on the other hand, I went with the much more out of the blue choice. I did not choose Basel, even though Basel's my boy. I chose the Ran Moran or Jan Moran. I want a sand whale to hunt on the little sand skiff because I think that would be fun. What would you
Yeah,
choose?
this is a tough choice. This is a tough choice. Hmm. You know, I think I've said before that Namiel is one of my favorites.
Ooh.
I want to see Namiel in the RE engine in all its glory. And you can imagine like it would get pretty crazy with some of like the environment effects and stuff in the game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Namiel
yeah.
was one of my favorite monsters in Iceborne. I thought she was absolutely amazing. So yeah.
I love the sounds, the sound effects of Namiel. It's like,
Yeah.
And one of the really cool things about Namiel as well, her gun lance had a unique reloading animation, different from all the other ones.
Oh,
Yeah, some secret lore had a different reload. It's not like super different, but it's slightly different from the other gun lances. It folds a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But
I love the armor set too, like the look of it. That was like basically like my default look in Iceborne. So I hope they bring that back so I can bring on the consistency, you know?
and Namiel just spawned so many memes in the community as well, with like the little wiggler heads and little disco dancing, and everybody's just like,
yeah. That's so good. Yeah. I
some
still see
fun
that gif all
times.
the time.
Yeah. So we need to put Joe on the spot because Joe is spreading fake news, misinformation, and propaganda. I had to tell my chat, do not believe his lies. This man is lying to you because you said there's no such thing as a baby PUKEI. I don't know why you are invested in keeping baby PUKEI away from us. Everybody knows that he is real. He exists. I don't know what is this Amstrigians thing that you guys made up at the last second.
Put some respect on Amstrigian, okay? We gave you the official artwork. That's what people wanted. No, I know it's like slightly disappointing. Well, maybe not slightly, but disappointing that it's not actually a baby PUKEI. But I think Amstrigian's a little cute too. They have a cute name.
They are cute. Their name is a little bit weird though. Amstrigian. I think you guys explained what it was. That it's something to do with like frogs and whatnot. And yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, it is true, guys. There is actually no baby PUKEI. I'm sorry. I tried getting the information out of them. I failed.
You know, what's funny is when we put together like the whole panel script and everything, I felt like the original draft that we had of like that whole segment was like, oh well, unfortunately it's not baby PUKEI, and it was like kind of sad. I was like, well, can we like give this like a little bit more joy? You know, like I think it should, we shouldn't be like crushing people's hopes and dreams in that way, and give them something that's like cute and they can kind of get behind that. So I know part of it was like a little disappointing, but hopefully,
No, I think it
people
was
can
fun.
rally behind our new friend. Yeah.
I think it was fun. There's already been more memes that have come out since then, so it's like
Yeah, the singing ones. Yeah,
the
these are
singing
great.
ones. It's so
Yeah.
good, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's some fun times that we had.
Yeah.
So
I know you were giving me a hard time a little bit for not ending the YouTube stream on time after the panel, but actually I was posting the Amstrigian thing immediately after I got off that stage. So and then once I saw the YouTube stream was still running, I'm like, oh geez, I got to do that too. So
I was
that's when I
messaging you on
ended, right
Discord.
after I posted it.
You guys forgot to end the YouTube stream because you
Yeah.
gotta
And
hit
it's
the
like-
stop streaming button. It was
I'm
funny.
like, I'm grabbing like the Amstrigian PNG, trying to like get on Twitter and post it. So
Yeah,
we'll look at behind the scenes.
the struggles of doing things live. It's insane, guys, but it's a lot of fun. So I got to ask you guys about skills on weapons. Like, what's happening with this? This was something that I did not expect when I went to Gamescom and I started seeing like, oh, every weapon has speed sharpening level 1. Like, what's going on with skills on weapons? What can you guys tell us about that?
I mean, yeah, like as the team mentioned at Gamescom, it's a great new way to kind of further diversify your kit. Because we see as well in in the community, speaking from a community manager perspective, there'll be certain weapons that stand out from the crowd, whether that's their raw, elemental damage, sharpness, and things like that. And I think what we've got here is there's going to be more viable options for you to use, as you progress through the game, because there won't just be like, this is the best because it hits the hardest. It might be this one hits harder, but this one has a really useful armor skill on, and things like that. So I'm really excited about it. If it gives me an excuse to use more weapons and to chase more monsters, then I'm all for it. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think one thing also is that some of the weapons and like their skills and things like that during the demos at the event, so are most likely not final, and also like may have some skills that are just made for that demo, just for like balancing purposes. But yeah, I'm excited as well. It is also interesting to see at all of the events, like people are asking me about specific skills on different weapons and armor, and some of them I just like, oh, I didn't know that was there, like because I had not played around with every weapon and every armor set yet. So that was like pretty interesting to see. I think it's going to be pretty surprising as we get a little bit further in.
I feel like this is one of the ways, because a lot of people are concerned with the whole situation where, okay, we have 2 weapons, but 2 weapons can require vastly different armor skills. So this, I feel, is one of the ways that it's going to like enable you to do those things. But I don't think this is the only way, because I remember someone in the team teased like, oh, we're working on a system that is going to be mitigating that particular problem, but we're not revealing it yet. So yeah.
Pretty much.
Exactly. That's pretty much right. I wasn't expecting an answer. So.
Thumbs up.
And another thing that was cool to see is that set bonuses are also making a comeback, obviously. But besides set bonus, there was a much more interesting one. So when it comes to set bonuses, we had the powerhouse, which I believe has something to do with guard clashes or something like that, powering those up. But there was another thing, which is group bonuses. I think that's what they were called, right?
I didn't look close enough at I was purely like, I like this one. It looks cool. I'm going to use this one. I don't know if Joe, you had a look at it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm in the same boat. I'm not too.
Oh
familiar with
man! So group bonuses seems to be like a different type of set bonus that works in a way where, say, for instance, maybe, and again, this is heavy speculation, but my interpretation of it was like, maybe you'll combine pieces of Rathalos and Rathian because they're part of the same group, and you can still get bonuses by having like, 2-piece Rathalos, 2-piece Rathian, and you get a 4-piece group bonus. That's the vibe that I got anyways, because we had like, I think it was Master Gathering and Master Mounter for group bonuses in the armor sets on that build.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll have to look into a little bit.
Yes.
More. Also, Rathlos is in this game? No, I'm just kidding.
He was literally in the first trailer, not even the trailer, the first teaser. He shows up in the first teaser. Yeah, maybe Rathian isn't though, so who knows? Just Rathalos, not Rathian. Now, I am, however, going to need some clarification on the sneak attack, because something very strange happened in your gameplay at PAX, Joe. Because
wow, Joe.
you guys were telling me, like, listen, you can only do it once at the beginning of the hunt. You go and you sneak attack the monster, and that's it. And then you go in there, you throw a barrel at the monster, then the monster is fighting Ray Dow, and then you sneak attack him? How does this work?
Well, I don't think I hit it with a sneak attack.
Yeah, you
in
did.
that specific instance.
You did. I saw it.
Yeah.
You can't fool me.
I know the sneak attack came up a little bit later again.
Yeah.
It's possible that may have been something that is not intended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in that gameplay too, what was interesting that I noticed was that I was trying to do the sneak attack as the Doshiguma was like going to sleep, right? Or like it was like laying down, like just resting. And I was going to do the sneak attack, and I didn't see the prompt actually come up, so that's why I shifted to the barrel bomb. Like, oh well, this is a good chance to show this.
Oh, so at the beginning of the hunt, you were trying to do a sneak attack. It's funny because I was actually criticizing the gameplay during the stream. I was like, "Why isn't he doing a sneak attack? This would be the perfect opportunity."
Why aren't you hunting perfectly?
How dare you?
Exactly. This would be the perfect opportunity to do a sneak attack. Why isn't he showing it off?
So I ran up there. I'm like, oh, that prompt is not coming up. So that's why.
Well, I'm going to throw a barrel bomb. But it was good improvisation. Yeah, you know, it's never going to be perfect, especially with, you know, early builds and stuff like that. And I don't know how many times you got to play the demo, because people think that you guys are out there and it's like, oh yeah, yesterday I played the demo like 10 hours, and they think that that's what you guys are doing, and it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
That's not at all what we're doing. I mean, I think, of course, like if we had all the time in the world, like we would just be playing the game nonstop. But you know, it's actually like, oh, we have to work on like a campaign where we're like marketing this game and stuff. Oh,
yeah,
you don't just play games all day for your job.
But we have a bit of prep time, but as Joe said, very, very busy, doing lots of Monster Hunter.
So we don't know if that was actually like an intended mechanic, the fact that you're able to sneak attack midway through the hunt, which I also thought was really weird. I was like, oh, I need to ask clarification on this, because this is very different from what I was told. I never even tried doing sneak attacks after the first one in the hunts that I did, because I was like, oh, it's not going to work. It's going to be a waste of time.
Yeah, and with our PAX playthrough, I mean, we played in a way that's like not necessarily like intended behavior. Like, you're probably not going to lead a Doshiguma like across the field for like 5 minutes or whatever we did there, right? I feel like that kind of like reset like the timer, I guess, a little bit, just from the way that we played, where it like kind of created like a time where we could do another sneak attack, right? That's what it tried to like let us do another one. So yeah, I don't know if that was like something that was necessarily intended, but you know, we'll have to see. Oh, and one thing about the barrel bombs too. I don't know if like this was shown at Gamescom or somewhere else, maybe somebody noticed it, but when the monster is sleeping at the end of the hunt, if you actually have the NPC hunters with you and you set down barrel bombs, they'll all start like wigging out and like trying to like put barrel bombs down as well. And the pathing is kind of funny. Like they'll kind of like try to run over and just like immediately just like beeline to put their barrel bombs down. So you'll just stack them all up, and then you can kind of just do the big barrel bomb explosion, which is pretty fun. So yeah, it
reminds me of Palicos, because they do that too in World. Like if you have the whatchamacallit, the big explosion gadget that Palicos have, he'll also go in there and put like a little thing on the monster whenever you're barrel bombing. So that's cool. But yeah, that's pretty nice. So one of the things that I noticed as well was with mantles. So it seems that in Wilds, mantles start recovering even if you're still wearing them. Or did I get that wrong?
That's not something I actually looked at. Once my ghillie mantle was done, I tossed it off. I didn't think about it again. I was like, your job here is done, ghillie mantle. I've got a monster to slap.
No, but for my gameplay, I think it was regenerating. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, mantles are back in this game. You know, we're not necessarily talking too much about them, but in terms of like the amount of them and like kind of the prevalence of mantles, it's not necessarily like an element of the game that is like getting a huge boost in comparison to the previous game. You kind of like expect to see it at like a similar level to World.
Yeah. Okay. So there's been some concerns after the weapon tutorials came out. There were a lot of people that were concerned because some of the moves that we saw incorporated Clutch Claw. And I just wanted to make people comfortable. Like, look, Clutch Claw is technically not in the game. We have like, what's it called? A Hook Slinger?
Hook Slinger.
Yeah. Hook Slinger's in the game, and that is just like incorporated into some weapon moves. Like I think Sword and Shield has a little bit of it. Greatsword has a little bit.
Hammer.
Oh yeah, Hammer has it as well for the little side dodges and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, so it's like seamlessly incorporated into the weapons, but it's not a traditional clutch claw that you're using to just clutch onto monsters' faces, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sword and Shield's a good example because after some Sword and Shield gameplay came out, it might have even been some of what I was doing as well. Obviously, for the focus strike, you attach to the monster, and some people wondered if that was a clutch claw. It's not. It's because you're getting your blade into the monster and attaching to them before you choose which one of the two attacks you want to do. Doing that. So yeah, so the hook slinger is linked into some attacks, but it's not something you proactively shoot out like the clutch claw in World and Iceborne.
Yeah.
Like in regards to like attaching to a monster, you do proactively shoot it out to do a lot of interacting with the environment and things like that. But yeah, it's not something you would use normally to like tenderize a monster and things like that, or engage with the wounding mechanic.
Yeah, it's pretty much all like part of existing animations or existing moves, right? It's
Makes
not
it
really
really
like
cool.
yeah,
Like with the dual blades,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You read my mind.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's not really like its own mechanic, right? Like if you hold left trigger, in Iceborne, you're gonna bring up the clutch claw, but you know, with this, it's focus mode now. So, yeah, so it's not a mechanic in the game, but you'll still see the slinger being used in pretty interesting ways.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I expected. I just wanted to get like confirmation on that, so that, because I know that there's still people in my comment section that are going like, but the clutch claw though, it's back, and I'm like, no, guy, it's not. I promise you, it's not. I played the game. It's just not the same thing. So one of the things that that I wanted to talk a little bit more about is now we have herd monsters, right? Like the Doshigumas and stuff. Those are not going to be the only ones. My interpretation is that there's going to be like maybe 2 or 3, maybe per locale or something like that, something along those lines. You'll have a couple of herd monsters here and there. But the big thing for me is I don't like carrying poop in my inventory bag. This, because like, you know, you have your healing items on there, and then there's like a piece of poop, and it's just, no. The Iron Breakers don't do that. So what other ways do we have to like separate herds?
Do you want to do this one, Joe, or shall I go first?
I could jump in. Yeah.
Go
So
for it.
in the PAX gameplay, we showed the luring pods, which you can see a little bit of, and that is like one of the ways that we lured that Doshiguma like all the way across the field. You know, in some instances, like if you do that, you could actually lead the whole pack of Doshiguma into like the little whirlpool, like sand pool of Valahara, and that'll actually separate the herd. Like the only thing that will come out is the alpha Doshiguma. The others will just get like sucked up into the
thing. Okay.
Whatever we're calling. Yeah. So that's another way you can like kind of imagine like different contextual like environmental actions like that can happen. But otherwise, I know you said you don't like carrying around the dung pods. You have the large dung pod now.
It's even bigger. It's even more poop.
It's a very satisfying cloud of poop. And you have your sacred, which can carry that for you. So it's basically like having a mobile camp that can carry all that stuff for you. A mobile poop station? So, yes. That's your poop station. There you go. Just drop the dung on them. The turd.
Oh no, but it's the luring pods is one way. The other way is taking them to the little thing. But I'm just assuming there'll be other ways, like you were trying to lure them over to Ray Dow. I'm assuming they would eventually also break apart at that point as well, because it would start running from him and stuff. So I like the fact that there's many ways of doing it, and you know, if anybody just wants, no, I just want to do it right now. Okay, there's the dung pod, and you can do that too. But an intriguing thing I thought about the luring pods is you can also use those to act as a tank for your team.
Yeah, it gave me big behemoth vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So if you're like a guard or counter-based like weapon user, yeah, you can temporarily tank using that. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic feature. You got that red aggro line, and yeah, you can go to town. So that kind of tank fantasy or counter fantasy is there for players that want to enjoy it.
I'm going to be crafting a lot of those. Do we know the materials that we need to craft those yet? I mean, I'm assuming they were in the build, but I didn't test
stuff
it.
Up off the floor. I was like, that's shiny. I'll have that. And then I'll throw it at the monster at high velocity.
It's so funny that you immediately jumped to tanking. I know you're an MMO guy. So,
Yeah, of course.
and you play Gunland, so you got the shield. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, I want to thank, like, back when we were doing the lobbies for Safi Jiva, I would always try to be tanking with the gunlance, grabbing all the aggro. Even though it wasn't the best weapon for tanking, I was like, doesn't matter. I'll still tank. I have a big shield. I have guard 5, guard up, all the things, and I'll be here and I'll tank, and everybody can deal damage. So
yeah, I mean, I love. I mean, being a sword and shield user as well. You know, we can guard, but traditionally, unless you spec into it with your armor skills, it's not the greatest. But what
Yeah.
I love is the addition of the perfect guard on all of the guard weapons there. So you can actually be rewarded for this guard playstyle without having to invest heavily into it, and it feels really engaging now to guard. And also, Takuda-san actually mentioned about the power clash, where there is a chance that if you're just doing a normal guard, that you will eventually do a power clash. However, if you do perfect guards with the right attacks, it dramatically increases the chance of you doing the power clash. So there's a reward for that on top of the defensive style. But if you want that really cool power clash, you can kind of invoke it with like a skill-based expression.
Yeah, I actually theorized that because of my experience playing the game. I was like, in one of my videos, I was saying, I think that if you perfect guard, there's a higher chance of getting it, but I don't actually know. But yeah, it's nice to have that confirmation too. So that's cool.
Yeah, with the greatsword, I think like one of my regrets with the playthrough that we did at PAX is that I didn't try to guard more, and I just never guard with the greatsword. But it's actually a little bit more viable this time around that you have the power clash.
Do you parry with the
satisfying.
greatsword?
Yeah, it's essentially like if you get your timing right, like it's close to a parry, right? Then you'll get the perfect.
So very much like, I mean, like the perfect guard. You also do perfect guards like with shield weapons? Because I didn't try that.
I don't think so, like to that extent. But I'll probably have to dive into a little bit more.
Yeah,
because I don't really guard. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a very new behavior for greatsword,
Yeah.
right? Normally you just shoulder charge through it.
Yeah, most greatsword users don't really guard because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So yeah, because I'd be curious if like it even maybe it uses less sharpness or something like that, because I seem to remember that was one of the big problems of guarding too much with greatsword, is that you end up losing a ton of sharpness. So I'm curious if you're able to like lose a little bit less, because Gunlance definitely got some optimizations in terms of sharpness. We don't get as punished anymore for shelling, because it used to be like, oh, 2 full bursts, okay, that's like 2 whole gauges of sharpness gone.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what do you mean? This is not very fair. But yeah, that was really good. So I'm very curious about something, because like, you know, when we have time to play and we have limited time, it's like, oh, I'm not going to start experimenting with crazy things. But now we start quests by just attacking the monsters, right? That's how it works.
It's one of the ways.
Yeah, one of the ways to start quests. And I was wondering, what if we start a quest, right? Like you're fighting Doshiguma, but then I go and I beat up Ashatakabra, which we all did, because poor Ashatakabra is just a big old punching bag. That poor guy. Do we start like, does it start a new quest? I don't think it does, right? So you only can have 1 active quest at any given time.
Yeah, I could jump on this, Jonno.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you can only have 1 active at a time, at least in the like kind of the expedition setting.
Yeah.
We actually saw a lot of people, and I'm sure you saw this at Gamescom, but a lot of people were trying to go after Rei Dao after starting the Doshiguma quest, and then we actually saw, I think, like 4 or 5 groups beat Rei Dao, which was great. And then the quest just like, it doesn't end or anything, so you can just go back and take out Doshiguma. So I actually had to like stop people a few times, because they would take out Rei Dao, and they're like, okay, I guess we're done. I'm like, no, you guys still have like 10 minutes on your play session. Like, go take out Doshiguma. Don't waste the opportunity. You waited like 4 hours here. Go get him.
People are like, no, we killed a big bad monster. We're good. We're good. That's it. That's what we came here for.
Yeah.
As the experience.
So one thing with the way the quest starts, I think it's easy to assume that like if you just get 1 hit on like a monster, that it will start the quest. But actually there is like a certain damage threshold that you need to hit just to be able to get like that full like quest start like notification on screen. So yeah, it's not just like, oh, I just touched the monster and then here we go.
Whoops.
Yeah. They want to make sure you're fully committed to like, oh, you really want to do this quest? Okay, here you go.
Yeah. And on the
Okay.
flip side as well, I think the dev team mentioned it at Gamescom is if you're fighting, say, Doshiguma is your target monster, but you beat up a Balahara, but it gets away again, and you go back to fighting your main monster. Once you've took down Doshiguma, you can go find that Balahara and finish it off. It will still be injured, it will still be damaged. You can then make it a main quest if you haven't got a quest slot in, and then continue the hunt there. It won't like reset its HP pool or anything like that. So you are rewarded for, getting in a tussle, and it's not a net loss if you are distracted by another monster for a bit. It's that kind of like more seamless place. All right, we've just beat Doshiguma, but we spent 5 minutes beating up Balahara. Should we just go finish it off for some parts? Yes, you can, and you should, because it's still damaged from before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But basically, the idea is you get the rewards for the quest that you have active. So if you were to not just wound that Balahara but kill it, you don't get as many part rewards.
You get the carbs
You get
and
the
drops, but
carbs.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't get the
Yeah.
quest
Yeah.
rewards unless Doshiguma had been beaten and it activated a quest. But if you're mid quest and you just take down a monster, you get the carbs and
Okay.
any breaks and shiny kind of things,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
pretty
like
much what I
previous games.
expected. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure because people start hearing, "Oh my God, it's seamless! I can just go hunt anything at any time." And it's like, well, if you have a quest active, finish this
extra
quest
benefits to
first,
that.
and
Yeah.
then
But you
go
can
kill
soften
the
it
other
up a
one.
bit.
Yeah.
Like send someone
Yeah.
off to start dunking on it so that the crew can roll up.
Book of Doom. Take it out
Yeah.
afterwards.
Speaking of those, so there was this thing that was shown. I believe it was in one of the streams that you were with Tokuda-san Jonno, which was something that I didn't even see at all, which was the weather/monster forecast. Like, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so obviously, in Monster Hunter Wilds, you've kind of got your three kind of weather or environmental periods
Yeah.
in the locales. And obviously with that, it's like, well, how do I know when? And also with obviously, like we saw Ray Dow only appears initially during obviously inclemency period. So like, oh, when are these certain monsters going to turn up? When am I going to be able to get these materials? When are there going to be certain monsters around? And you can actually basically get a big weather report and you can kind of scroll through it and it will show you what kind of predicted monsters will show up and when certain environmental periods will be active. So you can kind of plan your play session around that. You're not kind of going to be like, oh man, is inclemency going to show up? Do I need to wait here for like Raid Owl or something? When it's going to happen. You can go and check. And then base your, we got time to quickly bash out a Chattacabra. Let's do that. And then we'll go back and wait here and things like that. So you can kind of plan ahead for what you want to hunt, what the environment's going to be like, and the benefits and challenges of that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a very interesting system. Sorry, you were going to say something, Joe?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that that helps it not feel like truly like random, right? Like there is like kind of a cycle to it. It is like a real weather report. It's like a real environment.
I tried getting the answer to see, talking about random. I was like, hey, by the way, can we craft decorations in Wilds? And I got shut down so fast. It's like, end game. We'll talk about it later. Maybe Tokyo Game Show. We'll see. But he actually did not say that, by the way. Before people start quoting me on that, that was not said. I'm making it up. But yeah, so with that monster forecast, one of the things that I've noticed is that some of the monsters will have like strength bonuses, like they'll be a little bit stronger than usual. And, what's that mechanic like? Do you guys know yet?
I take this, Jonno?
Yeah. So obviously it was kind of touched on a bit. We've not done like a big reveal or done a deep dive, but the team did talk about it a bit. But as we mentioned, during the inclemency period, for example, it's more dangerous, both environmentally and more powerful monsters can be roaming the area because they're strong enough to kind of weather the storm. So obviously it kind of gives you an idea of, what kind of challenge you want to face. But the greater the challenge, the sweeter the rewards. I think, for example, the preview build we had at Gamescom, the Alpha Doshiguma, I think was like, there was like, it was multiple stars above. I think a lot of the monsters were like 1 or 2 stars, and this one was purple stars, a bit higher, and it actually guaranteed some rare drops if you did it. So yeah, I think it's another layer of challenge and kind of choosing your difficulty in a way that's not the traditional, like, you know, easy, medium, hard kind of thing. It's like, oh, you know, I'm going to go for this monster. I'm familiar with this monster. This is like it looks like a more dangerous version. Maybe I'll get some of the rarer drops and things like that. But we've only kind of scratched the surface of that so far. So we can't talk too much about it beyond what's already been shown. But, you know, we're loving the theory crafting around these little stars and things like that.
That already
Yeah,
gives me. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think you can go up to you can go up to 3 stars in the builds that we've shown so far. I think I saw a couple monsters that were in the 3-star territory. But I think that's one thing I like, that this system, it's a little less like instance, and it makes it feel like, you know, you have to study the world a little bit more, and like the monsters will be more dangerous based on, you know, how they fit into the ecology of the world. So like, you know, if Doshiguma, you know, during the fallow, like they might be like a little bit more aggressive than they will be during the plenty period, where it's, you know, things are nice and peaceful. You can kind of like imagine that stretched out to like a full game in different environments, where monsters have like specific environments and seasons where they will be either more dangerous or more docile, I guess is the right word. So yeah.
Yeah, like that makes me really excited about the potential for endgame systems, where instead of going through like, you know, an investigation list like what we had for World and Iceborne, you're looking at that monster forecast and be like, oh, there's a, you know, a 3-star, 4-star Teostra coming up, and that's gonna, you know, give us higher chances to get the gem, because we're not gonna get mantles and wilds, I would assume, because that's usually for master rank and whatnot. But like, oh, we get higher chances potentially at the gem if we find this one, which is really cool because it gives you choice and allows you to basically tailor your difficulty and get rewarded for tackling greater challenges, which is something that I've always wanted more of, kind of like more control, instead of like, oh no, there's a flat 1% chance of you getting a gem or something like that. Now it's more like, no, if you fight the stronger one, you know, there's a higher chance of getting that gem, but it's the stronger one, so you're going to get beat up a little bit more. I think that's a very good way of moving things in that direction, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think the team, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, the team have been really like highlighting that, you know, Wilds is this living, breathing world, and you know, you've got the weather system, you've got different monster behaviors and challenges depending on where the environment is at, and you know, talking about the challenge as well. Obviously, you know, we saw support hunters in action at Gamescom and at PAX as well. And that's another way as well. You can kind of augment the challenge on what you want as a player. Do you want a bit of backup? Go get some. Do you not? Don't use it. It's totally fine. So, you know, it's these great ways so you can kind of tune the process to how you want to play and how you enjoy playing Monster Hunter. Right, Joe?
It's always been like the difference with the Monster Hunter community is like there's no gatekeeping on the difficulty. It's kind of
Yeah.
like how crazy can I get in making this either as easy or as hard as humanly possible for myself. It's just like, you know, but like the speed runs and stuff too. It's always been interesting to see that, and I really like that part of the community. And I think, like you were mentioning with the support hunters, that's going to be really key, especially like for new players who maybe like they're not familiar with Monster Hunter or even like these types of like action RPG type games. That's going to be something that helps them quite a bit. If you look at the gameplay at PAX, I think there was like one part where one of the NPCs just started dumping with the heavy bowgun, and I think the crowd like had a reaction to it because it was super loud, and it caught me off guard too. I was like, oh, whoa.
It's interesting that you brought up the whole community aspect of it, because I've seen some memes where, you know, some people talk about like Souls games and it'll be like, oh, if you did it with summons, it doesn't count. And then you see the version of Monster Hunter, and it's like the beard dude with 3 other beard dudes, and he's just saying like, hey, you guys want to go beat up this big dragon? Hells yeah. That's it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, as I said, like I mentioned, like what Joe said as well, to touch on, like in some places, you know, you see gatekeeping. It's like, no, you can't play this. This is only for like super elite gamers. Whereas the Monster Hunter community, they will actively hunt you down and tell you to play their weapon.
Exactly.
Because they think it's the best weapon.
Because the gun lance is the best weapon.
Like the Cult of Longsword or the Cult of Gun Lance and stuff like that. Like, no, this weapon rocks. Ignore them. Listen to me. This weapon's the best. And it's everyone kind of like beckoning them over. Like, no, this is the weapon for you. And that's what I love. Like, like I like to check the Reddit a lot, and I know Joe does as well. And it's like, oh hi, I'm new to Monster Hunter, and you go in, and people are like, whoa, check out this weapon. I would highly advise, don't listen to those, those hunting horn users. You want the insect glaive,
Yeah,
and stuff like
exactly.
that. And they're sharing tips and things like that. Yeah, and say that's what, I think we both love about the community, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think one of the people you're referring to is in the room with us right now. Maybe somewhere. Oh, I don't know where he is. Maybe he's hosting this whole thing. Yeah.
It's still funny because there's the meme that my community has that I hate longsword, which I keep saying I don't hate longsword. I advise everybody that asks me which weapon should I play. I actually tell them you should go into the training room and try out every single one of the weapons and see which one you like best, because that one's the one that's gonna matter. And people are like, oh, but which one's the easier? Which one's the... It doesn't matter if it's easy or hard. If you like it, it becomes easy. It's just that
It's
simple.
like getting
Certain
a pair
weapons
of
just
shoes,
click.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, do they feel nice when you wear them? Then this is the right shoe for
Yeah.
you. And the shoe that fits me might not fit Joe or fit you. But like, I'll tell you one thing. I saw the longsword mount finisher for the first time at Gamescom, and I was like, damn, maybe I
What
should try this weapon out.
what is
Like,
the longsword combat finisher? I don't think I've seen it.
it gave me Virgil feels,
Oh, of
I was
course.
like, oh, that looked very cool.
I saw the follow up to the Spirit Helm splitter, and that one's pretty crazy. It's like shring, shring, and then he goes into red mode, and red mode has like a whole new move set, and I was like, oh damn, that's pretty sweet. Which is funny because I called that when I saw the first weapon overview. I was like, oh, longsword gets a brand new move set when it gets to red gauge, and people are like, no, that's not what it is. And then I'm talking with Peppo, who tested it, and he was like, that's exactly what it is. You get a whole new moveset whenever you go into red gauge. It's exactly like that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. I think we're not going to get an answer to this one, but I know that my community is exceedingly curious about this. But you guys were talking about the NPC companions. We don't know yet whether or not they will scale the monster, because like in Sunbreak, the companions don't scale the monster. So like you bring in 2 companions, monster still has the same HP, all of that stuff. It hasn't been confirmed yet whether or not these companions, the support hunters, if they actually scale the monster health at all, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're quite talking about that just yet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure because the community they're like, they keep asking me about it, and I was like, I don't know. Like my
I mean, the thing is,
go ahead.
The thing is, even if you ask here, it's good for us because we can take this info back.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, people are interested in knowing more about this, so
we
can figure out where to reveal that information.
Yeah, it's one of the concerns that people have. I'm mostly just curious. My suspicion, by the way, again, suspicion, speculation, all of that stuff, before people take it and say confirmed. It's like, my suspicion is that they will, because I think that you guys will probably end up making use of like the cool technology from Dragon's Dogma 2 and stuff like that to make them really smart. Not to the point where they can like get to the point of players, but I think they're going to be pretty good. And I think you guys will scale the HP. I think that makes sense. But again, we don't know. It is what it is. So
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I mean, speaking of, the team did say, that they put a lot of effort into not just the support hunters, but the Palico in regards to contextual behavior, being much more engaged in the fight and kind of reading the room, and also following what the hunter is doing. Like if you put down a trap, or as Joe mentioned, you put down barrel bombs, like they'll go and stand behind the trap to try and lure the monster in, or, they will contribute to putting the bombs down. So, the team you've got these support hunters that won't be a hindrance. They will kind of see what the player is doing and support that style. So you're not working against the AI. You're like, I put a trap down, but they've got Doshiguma like 20 meters over there. Come on. The team really have wanted to make these feel like a really good addition and something that you will enjoy having with you if you're, not playing solo or with like random hunters or your friends.
Interesting. I was wondering if they put traps, because I think they did that in Sunbreak.
I know the Palico.
Yeah, Palico does it.
Yeah, Palico can.
Speaking of,
not sure. Yeah.
Speaking of the Palico, how are the Palico gadgets working this time around? Because the Palico seems to be able to just do everything, or is that something that we're not talking about yet?
I think we've only showed maybe what, like one gadget so
No.
far. They do have
Because unless that gadget has tanking shields, bombs, and
Oh, we've seen the
paralysis.
Wrath of Meow.
Yeah, the Wrath of Meow. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen
Oh, that's
all
true,
of
that's true,
those
yeah.
things. So I'm just wondering, do they have all of it in one gadget? Like, that's kind of weird.
I don't think, yeah, once again, kind of, I don't
Yeah.
think we've spoken too much about that
Yeah.
yet. And obviously, you know, I don't know if the preview build just had a nice spread, so you got to see a little
Oh,
bit
Yeah,
more
that might have been it
versatility of a
too. Yeah.
Palico or not. But yeah, that's
I
genuinely,
think
we haven't got anything else to share on that right now.
I
But
think
it's
the
cool
way
people
that
are interested in the
yeah.
Palicos.
I think the
Yeah.
way that it worked in Worlds was very good, where you actually just choose one tool and then he kind of like specializes in that, rather than becoming a jack of all trades. I think that's what makes the most sense. But it was definitely cool for me personally to see Wrath of Meow, because I hadn't seen Wrath of Meow in Sunbreak, and I was like, oh, Wrath of Meow is back. I love him. This little cart just pew pew. I just like that. So
Yeah.
Go
I think
ahead.
at PAX also we showed it placing a shock trap, which that actually
Yeah.
caught me by surprise, because it just like the Doshiguma just turned around and like went right into the shock trap, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, what are you doing? Thank you."
Yeah, I have that in my gameplay capture session. He did that too, so that was pretty cool. So I wanted to bring up a little bit more about focus mode, which is another fear that the community had. There was a lot of focus on focus mode when it was initially announced. Oh, the puns! And a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's an easy mode," and I was like, "No, it's not an easy mode. It does make certain weapons a little bit more accessible. So like you can do 180 true charge slashes, which is pretty cool. You couldn't do those before." But I feel like focus mode works almost kind of like the camera mode that we have in previous titles, where you're just like, you tap down on L1 and it just turns around to the monster, except this time you can do it midway through your attacks, which is something that you couldn't do before.
Yeah. So something interesting I noticed watching people play is they forget focus mode is even there.
Yep.
And it is such a key part of the loop now. I think it like, just like Clutch Claw was, and other mechanics, and like wire bugs and Rise and Sunbreak. It's part of your kit now. So the monster is like the game is adjusted for that. So it's interesting to see people like not use it because it's just not natural to them yet. But I think it will become that over time. But the loop of like wounding the monster and then breaking those wounds after you see them all highlighted. One, it's super satisfying when you actually like break those wounds, and then like you see like you get the notification on the screen, and like you see the monster stagger back a little bit. That feels really satisfying. So like being able to do that, I think like it just really adds like a different layer to the hunts that were not necessarily there before. So it should be interesting to kind of like see people adjust to that over time. But right now it's so new that everyone's just like, oh, I forgot that I even had that.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, and also like kind of put it in perspective for those that are a bit worried about that haven't had a hands-on. It's this multifaceted tool, and you choose how you use it. So does it make getting into Monster Hunter maybe a little bit easier because you can aim your weapons easier? Yes, it's going to help new players come in and enjoy the game and really get to grips with it. But is it also a skill expression for experienced players? Absolutely. Like I was watching Punk Duck use the greatsword, and he was going to work using focus mode, repositioning during his charges and things like that. So, it's this tool you can use to say it's going to help more people come and enjoy Monster Hunter because, they're not going to be as punished if they miss an attack necessarily if they do use focus mode. But it's also going to allow us that have been playing for generations, or if you join a World, Iceborne, Rise, or Sunbreak, to do even more cool stuff in the hunt, right? And then, as Joe said, you've got the wounds. So the wounds is a whole other part of focus mode. Do you choose to destroy them using, a focus strike, or do you just take advantage of them being like a weakened area so your normal attacks will do more damage and eventually break them? It's this multifaceted mechanic, and it's so easy. You can tap in, tap out, you can hold it and strafe around with it. As Joe said, you can tap it, reposition. It's got all these mechanics, but is it an easy mode? No, the monster's still going to absolutely body you if you're holding down focus mode or trying to reposition, much like with wire bugs, right? Anyone that watches the official streams with me and Joe will know the most times I carted in Rise and Sunbreak was mid wirefall. Because I'm like,
Firefall.
oh yeah, get out of jail free card, and the monster's like on the volley and just absolutely boots you. So like, it's this great tool, but it's not an I win button by any shape or form. But it's
Yeah,
a great way to get more people settled into Monster Hunter, and it's a great way for those of us used to it to do really cool stuff.
yeah, and you have to multitask a little bit while you're using it, right? Because it
Oh
is
yeah,
a new thing to layer on. So it can be kind of easy to just be like, oh, I'm gonna go into focus mode. I'm just gonna do everything that I want to do. And you get in there and you're just like getting slapped around by the monster, and you're like, well, okay, well, that was not as easy as I thought it was going
Yeah.
to be.
Because you move slower when you're in focus mode, from what I could tell at least, right? You get more control over the direction of your character, but the downside of that is that you end up moving a little bit slower. At least that was the case for me in the gun
yeah, you're not
lines.
sprinting around. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
And-
you're also not going to be like 360 no scoping like the monster with the true charge slash. Like you can't move around like that quickly.
Yeah.
It gives you like more precision, but it's also
Joe,
it's not going to just
I
like
got
turn your
bad
controller into a
news.
mouse.
I got bad news for you. You just Kanta probably just watched this and you're just like, I'm not gonna do what now? That's exactly what I'm gonna do. That's Kanta like challenge accepted. I'm gonna 360 no scope snowball this monster mid-air. That's what he's gonna do.
All right, I want to see it then. I want to see it. That's our like 0.1% of like god tier players that can do it. So I want to see it.
But the thing about focus mode is that I don't even think that you need to go into focus mode as much as probably what people are thinking about, because a lot of the time that I was playing, I rarely used focus mode unless it's like, oh, let me just check real quick if there's any wounds active. Okay, there's not. Cool. Or, okay, there are wounds. Let me go into focus strike mode, which is just like you just tap it and boom, goes into the focus strike. So I don't even think like you need to use it all that much, but it is useful once you start incorporating it into your kit. That's the way that I at least looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we've got a great sword main and a sword and shield main, we'll actually both have interesting opinions on it. Because I'm like you, I'm a sword and shield main, so I can reposition naturally via my combos and attacks. So I would use focus mode mostly as a tool to identify wounds and then focus strike, or reposition my shield bash onto the head if I felt I wasn't quite there. But Joe, what's your experience with it?
I think one thing that I kind of fall into is that now that you can reposition, and it kind of gives you like this false sense of security now that you can pretty much aim your true charge slash. So when I play now, I'm just like, oh, I can hit these whenever I want, which is actually not true at all. So I tend to go for them more now with focus mode. But I think the thing you have to remind yourself is like, greatsword can still be like a hit and run type weapon. So you do still have to play conservatively from time to time. I think that's an adjustment that I'm still getting used to a little bit of like, don't like overcommit too much now that you have this, because the monsters are still very dangerous, very aggressive, and you're still gonna miss with focus mode. There's no embarrassment in missing, because I missed a lot in that PAX video if you take a look at it.
I am of the exact opposite opinion. Always overcommit, always go crazy. Just like, I'm just like, you got to do it for the glory. At some point, you're going to land that glorious dunk, and it's going to make it worth it for all the whiffs that you did before. So always overcommit. But yeah, I think that focus mode is actually reasonably well integrated. And an interesting thing that I've noticed is that with my weapon, if I go into focus mode and I stay in focus mode, I have access to my regular combo, so I can just go into focus mode and shell and do regular attacks and whatnot. But it seems that with certain weapons, you actually gain access to different combos. Like with the insect glaive. I don't know if you guys tried out the insect glaive yet, but people were telling me that that's how you gain access to the attacks that have like kinsect follow-up.
I've not actually used the insect glaive yet.
Yeah.
Same here, yeah.
I'm still learning all the nuances of my favorite weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things that apparently some weapons do get different combos on top when you are in focus mode. So for certain weapons, it will be more important than for others, is what I got out of that. But we were also talking about wounds. And wounds is a very curious thing for me, because it seems that now part breaker is inexorably linked to wounds, right? I mean, not part breaker, but just the breaking of parts. of the monster parts?
You want to do this one, Joe, or?
So I actually am not sure if it's like exactly tied to like parts breaking. Like if you break a part, then the wound opens up. Do you know, Jonno?
No, I mean, because like, yeah, with the wounds, so it's a very organic process. You know, if you attack areas that aren't traditionally like broke areas or broken areas, you know, you will generate wounds on them. But obviously, you do sometimes see part breaks when you break a wound because you do a big burst of damage, which could push you over the threshold. So yeah, so whilst there is crossover, I don't think they're like, you know, one to one, like
One-to-one
this
linked?
wound will
Okay.
always break
Right.
apart.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So not
That's what I thought as
possible.
well.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
obviously when
because
you, oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
after you. Because like when you pop wounds, obviously you do get a monster part as well. And when you break parts, you get the monster part. And obviously the new system is when you break a part or get an item that way, it goes straight into your inventory. You don't wait till the end of the quest, and you don't have to pick it up off the floor. So I guess you just see all these lovely dopamine hits coming up on screen, like, oh, more monster parts, broken bits, wound destroyed, and stuff like that. So I guess we need more research. We need to do some more hunting
Yeah.
to confirm that.
Yeah, because I didn't believe that they're like one-to-one tied together, because if you're seeing wounds every time that a part broke and vice versa, then that would be a lot of parts broken. So
Yeah,
because the
that
wounds do
tail.
tend to pop up quite a bit. Yeah.
No, I think that the association that I was doing, and again, this is from me just watching my gameplay over and over and over and over, analyzing it, right? But it always seemed that every time that not that I would get a wound, right? It's when you break the wound, when you actually like blow it up either through normal damage or through using a focus strike. It almost seems like those were always linked to also getting a break part and getting a reward. So that's why I was like, oh, this looks like it's just linked now. But it might not be, because again, it's a very small subsect of footage that we have from the current build, and things obviously might be different in the final one. So it's not confirmed that these are just straight up linked, because I was curious if that was going to be the case or not, especially with like tail chops. If we're gonna like also wound, break the wound, tail pops off, I'm like, it's a little bit too fast, probably, because it usually takes a lot more effort to chop a
Yeah,
tail.
you can generate a wound
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you can, you know, get the part break threshold.
Yeah.
The other thing with Doshiguma is that when it enters the enraged state, then all those wounds open back up, and then you can break them again, or destroy the wounds. I guess that's the wording.
It's it's an interesting thing with the Doshiguma, because with the other ones, right, if you get a wound and either you break the wound or the wound naturally heals and scars, you don't get those wounds back ever.
No, it's a unique thing to Doshiguma. As Joe mentioned, that when it's enraged, so it's kind of like last stand, it proper goes all out, pumps itself up, and gets hyper aggressive, and then it's very much a risk reward situation. You can do a lot more damage to the monster, but the monster is arguably in its most dangerous state, and that is like a unique property to Doshiguma as a monster. So it's kind of like a real cool, like kind of like final stand, all out kind of approach from the monster, because it's, you know, it's very brutish, it's very raw, you know, it's raw. You know, it just goes hard. You know, it's this messy monster that's just a big pile of muscle and hunger, and I think that really kind of really shows off its kind of personality well, that it's like, I don't care if this is hurting me, I'm gonna take you down first.
Yeah. So with the wounding system, another thing that I'm curious about is, are they first come, first serve? Because I didn't actually get to play multiplayer. I only played solo.
Like in terms of like who gets the wound?
Yeah. Who gets the focus strike? So like a wound is open and there's like 4 hunters, and one of them gets the focus strike. That means that the other 3, they don't get to do the focus strike on the wound, right? It's first come, first served, I would imagine.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much.
But you will get the monster part drop though. You won't be competing for like the part break items.
Oh, but I'm going to be competing for the style. I'm competing for the style.
Well, you better hope you get on well with your friendship group then, if you want, especially, you know, if you want to do the cool stuff. Or just be quicker than them.
I'm just going to ninja all the wounds, like not even give them. The moment the wound is open, I'm like, I'm spamming the focus strike.
It's mine.
Everybody's spamming focus strikes to see who gets it. But yeah, that was something that I was curious about. So I need to know a little bit more about offset attacks. I don't think the gun lance has an offset attack, so this would probably be you, Joe, because your weapon has an offset attack. The sword and shield doesn't have one either, right?
No, but I did have an interesting one where I did a big charge attack against the monster and we both recoiled. But I don't think it was a true
Yeah.
offset. I think it was more we both just kind of hit each other. And
I did the
bounced off.
same
This is
thing
definitely,
with
definitely
Wyvern
Joe and
Fire.
his great sword.
Yeah. Did you get
Yeah,
offset attacks?
With the greatsword?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe it's triangle and circle. It actually has charge levels to it. So when you can charge up that offset attack, it's kind of like an uppercut basically. So you have to hit it like pretty much at the same time that the monster attack hits, and then it immediately, if you do connect it, it immediately chains into another follow-up attack that automatically happens. And you actually cancel out of that if you wanted to. So you can just like, as it's going into that animation, you can roll out of it and just go into another attack, like if you want to hit a true charge slash. So it's pretty versatile. It is, I would say, a little bit more challenging to hit, but I'm sure people out there, once they get their hands on it, they're going to be going crazy with it. So I think a couple of times, like Jonno, probably in your gameplay at Gamescom, and then my own gameplay at PAX as well. I was trying to go for that like crazy. Like I really wanted to get that attack, but it's not like something that you could just do like on command super easily every time.
Interesting.
It looks incredibly cool. The sound, the meatiness of the blow. I'm quite envious of like, great sword and like big weapon users that can do that kind of thing because it looks so cool. I think everyone's eating though. Everyone's got cool little niches with their weapons that can do cool things that the like certain groups can't and stuff like that. And I think it's really kind of defining the identity. So for example, guard weapons get really cool block stuff they can do. And then obviously the greatsword obviously can guard, but it also is a big hitter. So you get your offset attacks, which is really badass.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it's triangle and circle because I would expect that to be one of the moves that you would need focus mode for. So I was expecting like some combination of L2 plus triangle or L2 plus circle, but no, triangle and circle. So you don't even need to go into focus mode. I remember that Paradise showed it off during their stream, but I don't remember exactly how he was pulling it off. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing, the offset attack. Then we also have clashes attacks that we talked about. Those are fairly basic. You just block. If you get perfect blocks, there's a higher chance. But then apparently there are some weapons that don't have any of these. What's happening with those?
Well, we're trying to emphasize the individuality of each weapon, right? So not every weapon has every feature. I mean, they all use focus mode, which is now kind of like a new core mechanic, but offset attacks and power clashes, not necessarily like new like core mechanics for every single weapon.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's already like lists out there. I don't know how accurate they are, but there's lists of like, okay, so this weapon has an offset, this weapon has a clash. It seems that right now the people that are eating the best is the greatsword because they have both. They have the offset and the clash. I think it's the only weapon that has both. I'm not 100% sure. But it's interesting to see the community trying to be like, well, what about my dual blades? It's like, well, you guys, do the spinny thing on top of the monster.
Focus strike attack, my goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
My goodness.
Yeah, every weapon is eating. The hammer has like that like wind up where you're like spinning the hammer, the mighty charge blow, which like I don't think we've even shown like in like other videos and things like that.
I think it was Reddit.
I don't even know if it was in like the weapon video. Yeah. So when I first played Hammer, I'm like, what is this thing? And he's like swinging it up and
spinning. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Yeah. It's ton of fun.
The stuff's still to be, as said, the people are discovering as they play the game, get their first hands on. We didn't show everything off in the weapon like spotlight videos and stuff, but yeah, as Joe said, every weapon is eaten. I don't know, it's easy for us to say that because obviously we're the community managers, but with every weapon, like we all play vastly different weapons, and I'm sure, I mean, we also like talking about Miss Watts who plays the bow, and she's been loving the bow. Like the bow's got a tracer arrow now, so yeah, it can't power clash. It's got a tracking arrow that you can do all trick shots and stuff with. So like some weapons share these kind of features, and others obviously have more kind of pronounced features specifically for their play style. It's like, I was loving the lance users. There was the meme they put up there about the orc.
We get a fourth.
I can punch 4 times in a row now or something. This is the best day of my life. Like, the lance has got even more aggro and things like that. And You know, so every weapon is eaten in their own way, and whilst there is some crossover, you know, there's also some, you know, really unique things for weapons that might not be able to power clash or offset attack and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like there's still a lot to learn for each of the weapons, and I just have a sneaky suspicion that we haven't seen everything, despite the fact that I feel like, oh, I've mapped out all of the moves of the gun line, so I know exactly where everything goes at this point, and then I'm thinking to myself, but do I? Do I really? I don't know. I'm still a little bit insecure about that, especially with like shelling styles, because right now we only got to play with normal, so we don't know what wide is looking like. We don't know what long is looking. We don't even know if those are in the game. It's like we don't know. It's all one big mystery. So
Yeah,
we'll
we're
have
going
to
off
see.
a small slice.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
one
had
area.
Look how much we're eating off of the tiniest little bit of wild.
Like that bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's been really interesting to see that. So I was wondering, with all of these weather changes that we're getting in the locale, for starters, I suspect that, and again, this I know we're not going to know at this point yet, I suspect that each locale is going to have its own mechanics. I don't expect like, oh, the Scarlet Forest also has an inclemency period that drops lightning. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but yeah. But besides that, like with the weather stuff, are we going to get specific gathering items when the weather is different? Because that's something that I didn't have time to study while I was checking it out.
We might have to go back and check that, but I believe so, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Like what resources are available and the amount of them will change depending on the season. Like as Joe said, you know, in the fallow, there ain't much around. And then in the plenty, there'll be stuff that isn't in the fallow. And then in clemency, talking about obviously the Windward Plains, you know, has you know, other properties. Obviously, you know, I think Tokuda-san mentioned the fulgurite that can
Yeah.
be created by the lightning strikes,
Mhm.
and that there is more to it than what we saw in the build and things like that. So
I
yeah,
know
there's definitely going to
exactly.
be more unique things around and reasons to be in certain parts at certain times. But what that'll be, time will tell.
I know exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have to go mine that fulgurite and then carry a big fulgurite chunk like it's an egg delivery quest while lightning is striking down and Ray Dow is, well, where are you taking my fulgurite? Come back.
Jacob's just watching you. It's like, good luck.
Yeah. I'm right here.
I'm here to support you. Careful, don't drop it. It might break. We never know. Oh, that was interesting. So there's been a bit of a reaction from the community in terms of the new HP bar. How do you guys feel about the new HP bar?
I love it. I like UI that has some personality, right? I feel like it has personality. I know, you know, some people, they like to be as economical as possible with their UI in terms of like, you know, you want to look at it and see things as easy as possible. But I also like how it's dynamic and it kind of shows you like the danger level that you might be in if an attack is coming in that might cart you. It kind of gives you like an indication of that. But I don't know. What do you think about it, Jonno?
I like it as well. It kind of gives me like slight Resi vibes because you used to get the, you know, like the heart rate monitor from and things like that. But no, I like it, especially like when I was first learning to fight Ray Dow, and I'm still learning to fight Ray Dow. You know, when I was going to be hit by like, you know, the big railgun style attack, and it would hit me, my health bar's like, you cannot take this hit, kind of thing. So I think it's a great indicator, you know, for once again an experienced player. And once again, newer players, because they won't necessarily be like, oh, why did I cut? Why am I, what happened there? Because they'll be like, oh, that attack was signaling to me. And I know that new things can be jarring at first, especially when you're used to like a static health bar. But you know, it grew on me quite quickly, and it's not distracting. It's just up in the corner, and you can see it. But yeah, I do like the extra information it relayed to me.
Yeah.
Because you know, I would have been really embarrassing to cart loads on stage. Let's be honest.
Oh, I just realized in my capture session, I didn't even get to see the bar move. Ray Dow just like
You just
trampled
don't
me.
get
It's
hit,
like,
right? Yeah.
just like murdered me. And I was like, oh, that was fast. That's the end of my Charge Blade recording bit. Now I'm gonna go and play Lance. But I think as with everything, one of the things that I think the team might want to consider is giving the players options when it comes to that stuff. It's kind of like with the palicos speaking. Obviously, some players are not going to want that. They want the traditional meows. And I think it was very smart of the team to just go like, yep, you can have that. You know, I feel like with the HP bar, that might be something that we might want to consider in terms of like allowing more UI customization, if that's a possibility or not. Because I know that that specific health bar is one of the community concerns as well.
Yeah, I know. While we can't like comment on like all the accessibility features and things like that, it is something that like we've noted. So
yeah,
thanks for sharing that.
Now I wanted to talk about this very specific detail that I noticed, because I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but the way that it just played out in my capture session, I was like, this is insane if this was planned. So you know how there's now deliverable items in the form of we used to be the supplies, right?
Yes. Wait, deliverable items. Can you clarify a little bit more?
So when
you mean like the first aid meds and the rations?
Yeah, that stuff that gets delivered to you automatically.
Yes.
So you guys want to talk a little bit more about that feature, and then I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit.
Would you like to, Joe, or?
Go ahead and take it.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, you've got your deliverable items, which traditionally you'd have a chest at your camps that you would pull them out of. However, now obviously Secret has them in their pouch, and periodically Alma, who's your handler for the uninitiated, will restock Secret's pouch with more supplies. So, you know, it's much again the seamless kind of gameplay. You don't have to keep going back to a set fixed location to restock up. You know, you can stay out in the field longer, and that's how we've kind of evolved the traditional deliverable items, so that you've got them to hand should you want or need them.
And this is actually quite simple. Like people might think, oh, but how do I, you know, I'm going to have to manage all these inventory things. You literally just mount Sacred, press left, D-pad, boom, there it is. But the more interesting detail that I've noticed, which kind of blew my mind, and I'm very curious if this is intentional or if it was just like a coincidence, is that I was fighting Chatacabra and I get a notification, oh, deliverable items. And then I rewinded the footage and you actually see that Alma's like sitting in the back somewhere and she's waiting for an opening. And then when the monster's a little bit more chill, she runs in, past the monster, goes right next to my Sacred. Then you get the message, supplies have been delivered. And then she runs away again. Is this actually intentional, or was it just like a random coincidence that she did that right as the items are being delivered? I'm creating fantasies in my head at this point, but I have that on footage. You can actually see Alma coming up, barking next to Sacred, and then it's like, item's been delivered, and then she goes away. Might have been a coincidence.
I have to see the specific example, so I'll have to go back and look at your footage. But I mean, we have said that Alma is, our handler this time is much more useful. So
I love the fact that she's like, at least you can see her on the field. I think that's really cool, because like a lot of people, you're focused on the hunt, you might not even notice it, but if you pay attention and you look, she's usually just like, a couple of steps away, just like hanging around, checking out that everything is good. And when everything's peaceful, sometimes she goes up close to you. Whenever you stop to do the BBQ stuff, she goes in, and I think she actually sits next to you if you turn on the BBQ and whatnot.
She does, yeah. She can join you in the camp. So
yeah.
Or some coffee or something. I don't know if it's coffee, whatever is in her like thing. Yeah.
Nice mega potion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of really cool details with that stuff that the team has done for sure. And I guess one of the final things that I would bring up is the underwater stuff, because that was kind of just like announced that on the last day of, well, not the last day of Gamescom, the last day that I was at Gamescom.
Yeah, the Friday, the end of the last stream of Gamescom.
Yeah, exactly. So how would go ahead, Joe?
So I kind of telling you this before we started recording, but these Gamescom streams were happening like 4:30 a.m. in the US. So I didn't know exactly everything that was going to be shown in these streams. So I wake up and I'm seeing a bunch of tweets on my timeline that are like, they showed underwater. I'm like, what? Like, what? So yeah, I'll toss it back to you, Jonno. You were the one that was there as it happened.
Yeah, so the team are all about engaging with the community. So the team obviously being, the dev team, we had Toguro-san, Ryozo-san, and Fujioka-san there. And obviously Toguro-san was doing the kind of one-to-one kind of chill style streams after the stage presentation. And each day I just knew that he wanted to show off some cool little new things each day, and that would go through and he wanted to show off some bits about weapons and stuff about the locale that might not be easily taken in on stage when you got 4 hunters going after monsters and Ryozo-san is fishing and and things like that.
Cool
And Fujioka-san's gone after another monster. So yeah, I knew that there'd be new stuff shown off, and obviously a lot of the stuff Joe and I know, but there's still a few little surprises, and sometimes the team will be like, because as they're the authority, they'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna show this off. So yeah, it was a surprise for me as well. I was like, wait.
Also, it wasn't planned?
I mean, obviously, I think Toguro-san planned it. He knew what he wanted to show, and I think he'd seen.
Toguro-san planned it and kept it to himself.
Yeah, so the team go through the comments and everything like that, and they'd seen the amazing reaction we'd been getting in the comments, and I'm sure they were like, you know what, let's do a little treat, kind of thing, and so that's how Toguro-san wanted to show off something cool, and no one had found that area that I saw on the show floor yet, and none of like when we did the content creator bits, no one had found that area and gone there, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. So yeah, the team wanted to show stuff off in a meaningful, personable way, and I love that that's how they chose to. It could be in a trailer, it could be in a tweet or something, or it can be in person with the team there, because they love seeing everyone's reaction as well. And I think what a cool way to do it. Yeah, me and Joe were both like, what? Look at that. My camera went up. It's that surprising. There you go. You got 4D podcast now. So yeah, it was really cool. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is down here?
So but when it comes to the underwater stuff, my understanding is that it is mostly on rails, right? You don't get to like free roam underwater.
Well, you could move around. He was moving around a bit and aim in. And he wasn't like in World where you kind of swim through and you can't stop. So you're down there and you're looking for resources and things like that, and kind of traverses. So there is some navigation. But yeah, it's not like you can swim off into the ocean and be like, see you later.
So there's some type of limited traversal while you are doing that stuff. And you're hook slinging resources mostly.
Yeah, I mean, we've only seen literally a splash so far. But yeah, that's what we've seen so far. Like, and obviously we confirmed that it's not underwater combat. It's not underwater combat.
It's not underwater combat.
So yeah, I bet you're slowly stroking a 3U copy under the camera or something.
No,
like, my precious. Like, but no.
I do. Do I own a physical copy of 3U? I think I do. I think I do have a physical copy of 3U though. So yeah,
it's my first Monster Hunter game, so I've got a physical copy.
Yeah, but like underwater combat is not my favorite thing, but I would be curious on a modern take on that particular combat style. But yeah, that's not something that is. I think it's been confirmed that it is not happening at all, right? For Wilds.
Yeah. Toguro-san was like, like this isn't underwater combat confirmed because this is like showing you how you can explore another type of environment within Wilds.
It's hard to even call it like underwater exploration. It's like, well, you were in the water, I guess. I don't know what's the best way to describe it.
You're swimming a little bit. You're in this little water area.
Yeah.
You're just checking it out. I think that there can still be some interesting, depending on map locale layouts and stuff like that. I think there can still be like an experience where maybe you're running away from a monster, like Lagiacrus or something like that. I'm just saying.
Look, if I was being chased by Lagiacrus, the last place I'm going is the water. Like, come on now.
I mean, but maybe you don't have any other choice. Maybe you have to go underwater and you have to run through there because there's nothing else you can do. I don't know. I mean, obviously we start instantly forming like these crazy scenarios in our heads and letting just the imagination run wild because that's just the way that it goes with Monster Hunter. But yeah, it's been fantastic to see like all of the gameplay reveals. Things have been absolutely phenomenal. It was really great to see the community during Gamescom, and yeah, it was just good time all around. Any final comments from you, gentlemen?
I'd say it's been a really busy couple months.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've been all over the place. I would have been there at Gamescom as well, but just couldn't make it out this year. But maybe next time I'll be able to see you in person.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be fun. We can all schedule an in-person podcast that will never happen again.
Wow. What's important is you're not bitter, Rurikhan. That's the important thing.
I'm just joking. It was just funny. At one point, I was like sitting there, like taking notes for the podcast, and then you were coming in and leaving and coming in and leaving and coming.
It was nonstop. It was nonstop.
Poor Jonno, dude. I remember at one point you were like being asked questions from 3 people in 3 different points of the thing, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think this podcast is happening somehow."
Everyone was so busy. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was
it
very
was-
rewarding. But yeah,
it was-
sorry
it was
about that.
pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
so I'm sure I'll get like an
It's
hour.
fine.
No.
It was just funny. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, there's going to be more news I think the presentation is somewhere 2 weeks from now, give or take. The Tokyo Game Show. I mean, I'm going to have a stream here on the channel. We're going to co-stream the whole event, so I'm sure I'll be covering that stuff live. Are you guys going to Tokyo Game Show, or do you have other people there, I would imagine? Or
No, I think
Neither of us-
HQ's got that covered, right?
Yeah. Neither of us will be at the show. I actually can't travel anymore for a little bit. I've got a baby on the way. So.
Oh, congratulations, Joe! I'm happy for
Thank you.
dude.
That's one of the reasons why maybe a trip to Germany might have been a little much for me.
Yeah, that was gonna be rough. You gotta pay
Yeah.
attention to your SO and make sure that everything is smoothed out. Yeah, that's good to hear, Joe. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, but it is like a pretty hectic time with
Yep.
this game really ramping up, and there's a new hunter on the way. So
Another Sword and Shield main. I can't believe it. It's
hold on.
No. You see, Joe is going to be converted into the ways of the Gunlance now. He's going to enter the fold, and therefore, clearly, Joe Jr. is going to be a Gunlance main as well. This is obvious.
I will take each of your presentations separately. So let's schedule some time for that.
All right. That is going to be it for now. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And everybody out there, if you guys enjoyed this podcast, do hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz. And I'm going to be working on some more content for Monster Hunter. One of my next topics is actually going to be, is it too late to start the hunt? Because there's obviously people that are, I mean, you're biased, so it's not fair.
just a bit.
No, but it's like, there's obviously a lot of people that have seen Monster Hunter Wilds. You know that I've actually seen people that stood in line for like 6 hours. And then I was like, oh man, when did you start playing Monster Hunter? And he's like, about 5 minutes ago.
Nice. Legend.
he stood in line for 6
what we wanna
hours
see.
to play
That's
the
what we wanna
game for the very first time. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But welcome, yes. And he was telling me, yeah, I'm definitely going to play this one 100%. But I think it's an interesting topic because a lot of people are thinking like, oh, I need to go back and play all of them. And it's like, no, you don't. It's fine. And yeah, I want to talk about that more. But yeah, that'll be
Nice.
interesting.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.
Thanks, everybody.